Hey y'all, this is Cindy. I'm the Tireless Tangler, and you've arrived at a new page and a new day in our Zine Project based on this amazing book by CZT Brian Crimmins, and it is Zentangle Dingbatz, Patterns and Projects for Dynamic Tangled Ornaments and Decorations. This is an awesome book. Y'all should get it. All right, for today's project, it's going to be divided up into a couple of parts, and today we are going to start with the center part, which is going to be the word love. Now, I have sectioned off a couple of small sections, so small margins along the sides, because I'm going to put a ribbon tangle on each side. And then on the top and on the bottom, I'm going to draw in another sort of margin line that's going to be about the same width as the ones on the side. I haven't yet decided what I'm going to do with those. Maybe nothing, we'll see. So I do want to mention now that this process that we're going to work through with the word today is going to involve some erasing. So let's get that out up front, and you guys can find your eraser. Now, depending on the surface you're working on, you're going to want to be careful how much you erase, because of course that can damage the tooth of the paper. I have learned to be really light with mine because I use them a lot. So when you're drawing in a word, you're going to want to section your area off and decide where your midpoint is to begin with. So because I'm working with a little bit of a longer word, one letter this time, I'm going to go ahead and draw in my center line. Now I'm going to do the word love, and because that has 4 letters, I'm going to let the center line be on its own, and I'm going to draw my letters on each side of that, with, of course, the line being between the O and the V. Now, this first part is basically working through how big, how small, how I want to set them up. Are they all going to be even? Do I need to get these two closer together or further apart? So this part is, I have found, best if you lightly, and I stress lightly, pencil in your letters and sort of the style in which you want to draw them, so that you can take into account with your sizing. You can take into account if they have part that will go up high or down lower than normal, or depending on the letters that you use. It could be a number of situations. For example, if you had a lowercase j, g, or f, and that came down below the line, you would need to have left adequate room for that on the bottom margin, which is one of the reasons we drew those in to begin with. Not because I am planning to touch them with this word, but because I want to know where my absolute limits are going to be. And that will give you a bit of freedom as you set this up. Now, I'm trying to decide which direction to slant this O, and I want to do it similarly to the way the E is done. I don't know if I have that exactly the same, but it'll work. It'll work. And go ahead and take your time on this part and get it right. Now, I don't want to do a normal L here. I want to sort of do a stylized one. I don't think I got that off to a very good start. Let me try that again. I'm not sure. It's pretty stylized. I'm not sure how clear that is that it's an L, but I think everybody's going to get the idea from this, hopefully. Hopefully. So the other thing I want to mention is that I have practiced ribboning letters, if you will, making them look like ribbons for a long time, for many, I don't want to say many years, but several years. It's a technique I've practiced a lot. So don't be frustrated if you try to do something like this and you find it difficult. It takes a lot of practice, and I'm not particularly good at it, although I'm getting better. And this process with the pencil is part of at least my necessary process for ribboning letters. Okay, so I am going to be using my Pigma Micron 01 in brown today. I love brown on tan paper. I love the effect that you get. So we're going to go with brown entirely for at least the archival part of this. So I'm going to start by picking one of these letters and carefully outlining the area where I have penciled in the outline. Well, that was kind of redundant, wasn't it? I'm also going to just sort of let my pen guide me, and if it takes me in a different direction, that's going to be all right. Now, I'm trying to decide what to do in here, and I'm trying not to do Shattuck, but I think that's going to end up being where I go with this. I'm talking about the Zentangle original pattern Shattuck. There's definitely a step out at tanglepatterns.com, which is a great place for all of your pattern needs. I sound like a commercial, don't I? So Shattuck presents some problems for me because the areas tend to be short and my strokes are frequently out of control, and the strokes on this are short enough where I never really have a chance to get it under control. Plus they're straight, which we know that I struggle with as well. But I'm going to do my best here. Now, don't worry about the little spots if you're like me and you sort of go over your line, because we're going to come in here right now, I guess, and redefine this line, add a little line weight, thicken it, and emphasize the outer edges. And I think I've mentioned before, when you use these brown microns, a little re-emphasizing the lines, such as this, can really make a big difference. The brown pens will build up the pigment, and the more you use them over the same area, the darker they get, and it's a really cool effect these brown pens have. Now also, because we're using exclusively brown on this tan paper, I'm going to really emphasize all of my lines. Oops. Simba had to get up on the bed with me. He doesn't really care when I'm filming and when I'm not.
Yeah, he doesn't. But that's what makes him a good dog.
That's what makes him a good dog, the kiddo says.
Yeah, boy.
Okay, here we go. I think we're all calmed down now.
And Cindy keeps on getting worried about copyright.
Yes, I am worried about copyright strikes. Okay, so that's the V, and I will tell you that this little letter and this word will undergo several transformations as I move through it. I'm going to tweak it and change it and add stuff and just sort of be creative with it if I can, without getting into too much trouble. My first lines are always going to be fairly light. I know I'm going to re-emphasize them again. So if I get one in the wrong spot, I'm not going to sweat it just particularly a lot. Like this one, I got off to a little bit awkward angle up there at the top, but it should be fairly easy to adjust that with a little line weight on the underside and maybe a little bit more on the top. We'll see what happens. So thank you guys for hanging in there with me the last week or so. My head has not been particularly in the game, and I have been preparing for school to start on Monday and getting the kiddo fixed up with what he's going to need. And his birthday's coming up at the end of the month, and I don't know if it's all of that or what exactly is going on with my head, but I am behind on comments and my descriptions are wrong in the videos a lot of the time. I don't know what exactly is going on with me. The live stream on Monday was craziness because I live streamed without making the stream public. And so, and then I realized that the first live stream video was up and live afterwards. I don't know. It was kind of a mess yesterday or Monday. So yeah, thank you for bearing with me, guys, while I'm showing my humanity here, and I appreciate the patience. I sometimes think that the reason I am so patient with everyone else normally is that I require so much patience myself. So it would be fairly hypocritical of me to get impatient with others. Although I'm not going to lie, that happens sometimes with the kiddo. He can require quite a bit of patience on occasion. But he is my sweetheart, and I love him. So here's a place where I'm going to add something. I've decided that I like the little aura that I added on the inside of that last one, on the inside of the E. And so since I had already done the V, I decided to add one in, and you can frequently do that by adding one on the outside instead of the inside. So we're going to see how this works, and I think here I'm already to Shattuck status, which is fine. I love Shattuck. It's one of those tangles that I feel I don't do well. And although I have some that have turned out okay, it's just not my comfort level, let's say that. Plus, getting it even if you're going to do a double row is sometimes problematic for me. I know some of you guys feel me on that. Wow, I thought I did this late enough to avoid all the traffic noise outside, but no. So I think I'm fairly sure how I'm going to deal with this stylistically now. It's a good thing since I'm finished with half of it already. If you've never done anything like this and you're going to try this, I really hope you will give it a try on some scratch paper first. There can be a learning curve, although some of you are just talented enough that you may be able to make that work for you first time out. I'll just say that I could not. So, plan accordingly depending on the kind of artist that you are. I decided to make that instead of pretending it wasn't there. I decided to go do something new with that. Make it sort of look sort of intentional. I don't know how it's going to turn out in the end. We're going to leave it that way. Once we shade it, we may not be able to notice it anymore. And there are my auras. They do tend to give a lot of separation. All right, so as you are crafting each one of these letters, whatever letters you're using, take your time, think it through. Normally not something we advocate when doing Zentangle, and normally not something I prefer to do a lot of. But in certain situations, in particular when doing things like these letters, then I have to buckle down and think, and that's okay. Within reason. We don't want to just completely destroy our peace. I have sort of gotten in the habit of not having to think too much, and it makes me a little bit lazy, but it's a nice place to be. But every now and then when I dust off my brain and get a little intellectual exercise, it's very nice. And talking to some of you is definitely an intellectual joy. So there we go with the O. I'm pleased with the way this is turning out. I think this is going to work out well on that L that sort of looks like an S. I'm going with it though. Not changing it, I'm just letting you know. So I don't think we are going to get much past this word today, but tomorrow we are going to put the tangle that we started yesterday, Scaraboo, or at least I am going to put it along the sides here. Right now I'm only planning to put it side to side, not top and bottom. I may ornament the top and bottom. I haven't quite decided yet. But if I do, I will use something very, very simple and lightweight, because the Scaraboo, the way I like to do it anyway, is fairly intense. So we're gonna wait and judge that after we get it drawn and see how that works. Now, if you are not comfortable with Scaraboo, please feel free to use whatever tangles in whatever format that you want to. Yours does not have to look anything like mine. These are just ideas from what I think I would like to do in these situations. And I definitely have a certain way of approaching things. And if that is not your way, that is absolutely fine. I want everyone to have a good time and enjoy themselves. And sometimes trying to force yourself into something that you are not either ready for, prepared for, or is something not really your style and therefore something you don't enjoy. That is not what I want. I want everyone who watches these, any of my videos, to feel free to be creative and do your own thing. That is the joy of Zentangle, of never having wrong, never doing wrong, never, what am I trying to say? It's the no mistakes thing. There are no mistakes, so you can't do it wrong. That is such a freeing concept. You can do whatever you want, and it is not wrong. Embrace that concept. And if you haven't, go check out the Zentangle channel here on YouTube. I want you guys to watch Maria Thomas's introduction video, or Maria and Rick's introduction video, where they talk about where that no mistakes philosophy came from. And it also gives you a wonderful inside look at Maria Thomas's journal when she was creating the Zentangle method. Her art, and oh my gosh, it is the most amazing thing. You will be stunned and amazed and love it if I can manage it. I will try to put a link to it in the description of this video, but I do not promise that will happen given my track record this week, but I will attempt to do it. I am still looking for someone to work with me on captions, if any of you out there are good at that kind of thing. Now, all it really takes is loading up the YouTube caption program and watching the video through and watching the words that YouTube puts up and just substituting the correct words. I believe you can also download a text copy of the captioned words, but those are difficult if you're not using them in context with the video. So anyway, that's about captioning. That has to be done on a computer, so if you're thinking about that, just something to remember. So at this point, I've got all of my letters drawn in. I have filled them all with Shattuck. And now I'm going back around and I am again emphasizing the outsides of each letter, both the border aura and the inner aura. You can tell my little one is playing a game.
And we just got attacked by a megalodon.
Well, hang in there with your megalodon and I will be done in a minute, little one.
I did get a mermaid gem.
Well, okay then. All right, so again, just re-emphasizing these lines and being distracted by my cute kid, who I'm going to guess probably won't be this cute next week, because he's going to be mad about school by then. But for today, he's still his happy self. Now you can see how cool this brown pen is. It goes on very lightly, and the more you go over it, the darker it goes, which is why I'm taking my time and going over these lines very carefully. There's Simba. He loves to lay on my feet when I'm in here, and he does not care if we are recording or not. Of course, we have raised him to be a lap dog, so that's what he is. So, yeah, so there is our word, love. Hopefully that can pass as an L. Now, I'm going to take my pencil and I'm going to do a little bit of shading run the first time around. I may come back in here and use colored pencil. I haven't quite decided, but initially I want to first come in and take out any of these pencil marks I don't want to have in the final amount. Once I go over something with a colored pencil, Simba says hi to his doggy pals today. It's Max Day today. He likes Max. He loves Brody and Sammy and Bunny.
What?
And especially Karma. Karma is his buddy.
What about Brunny?
Really? Kiddo has a stuffed animal we call Brunny. All right, so first I'm going to go in with my pencil and do some basic shading. I'm going to hit the points where the lines are coming together. A little bit of graphite in those areas will enhance the loopy quality of these. Sorry. Well, I didn't intend the pun, but it is a well done one anyway. All right. So those are basically the points. I'm going to shade right there where something looks like it's, going out of sight or behind something else. And so we're going to find out how this goes. Let me blend that out a little bit. Simba. It's like riding a bronking bull. But see how much just a tiny bit of graphite and blending that out makes in this. I might have gotten a bit much on this, but I think it's going to be okay. And where these sort of ribbony bits look like they're turning to the other side. We're going to put some in there. If the pup will stop rocking my world. We are almost finished for today. Be sure and come back tomorrow for some fun stuff around the edges. Now the other thing I'm going to carefully do is take out any graphite that comes between this and having crisp lines. The contrast between the lines and the paper is really important when the color of the ink is similar to the paper, and so that's why. Yeah, let's do that. And this is why I love tan paper. You can still shade just like normal, but you can add highlights like this and really enhance what you're doing incredibly just with a little highlight. Plus, when you go over an area that you have drawn on with white, you have a hint of that coming through in places. That's a nice effect. How fun is this? I am enjoying this project so much. Ooh. This dog is all about the excitement right now. He needs to calm down. All right. Put a few finishing touches on here. Now make sure that any erasing is done before you lay your white colored pencil down. Pencil lines will show through white colored pencil. Okay? So you want to make sure anything that you want out of there is gone before you lay down the white. That is it. How cool does this look, guys? Thank you for being with me today. Tomorrow we will hit the edges, and I will see you then.